Not all 80s rock shouted. Some of it whispered and never left. A few notes, a voice cracking just enough, and suddenly you're back where it all began. These weren't just ballads. They were wounds and melody, soft punches to the heart. 13 songs that didn't need volume to echo and still linger, untouched by time. Written by John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora, this ballad emerged as an attempt to expand the emotional range of the band. While many of their songs celebrated youth and adventure, this one focused on the vulnerability that follows a breakup. Released as a single from the New Jersey album, it quickly climbed to the top of the Billboard Hot 100. Musically, it blends a soft progression with powerful vocal outbursts filled with emotion. The lyrics express deep regret, a desire for redemption, and an unshakable commitment to the person they love. It was this mix of honesty and strength that resonated with millions of listeners around the world. The music video, with its black and white aesthetic and intimate shots of the band, helped solidify their more emotional image. This song not only expanded their fan base, it also proved that rock could be just as emotionally raw as any other genre. Diane Warren wrote this song in collaboration with Steven Tyler, marking one of the first times the band worked with outside songwriters. Aerosmith was in the midst of a reinvention after years of excess, and this ballad was key to reconnecting with a broader audience. Included in the album Permanent Vacation, it became one of the band's biggest radio hits of the 80s. Its melodic structure, centered around keyboards, and Tyler's broken, emotional voice, stood in contrast to their usually aggressive style. That contrast made it special and secured its place as one of the most beloved tracks in their discography. The song cemented Aerosmith's return to the big leagues. Its success paved the way for future collaborations and global hits. With Angel, the band showed they could strike emotional chords without relying on distortion. Originally written by David Coverdale and John Sykes for Tina Turner, the song ended up being recorded by Whitesnake and became one of their greatest classics. The song's softness contrasted with the band's usual power, and that duality was key to its success. Released as part of the self-titled album Whitesnake, its smooth melody and straightforward lyrics took it to the top of the charts in both the US and the UK. Coverdale's voice, rich with nuance, became the defining element that elevated the ballad to another level. The video, featuring Coverdale and model Tawny Katane, helped make the song an MTV icon. That combination of visual romance and powerful performance etched it into the collective memory of the 80s. Although Def Leppard had roots in the British hard rock scene, this ballad took them in a new direction. It was written by producer Robert John Mutt Lang, along with the band during the sessions for the hit album Hysteria. Interestingly, it wasn't originally intended to be a ballad. The producer reworked it from a slower rhythmic idea. The result was a track full of emotional tension, with lyrics that describe love as something so intense it hurts. The dense harmonies, delay-heavy guitars, and Joe Elliott's expressive vocals turned the song into their only US #1 hit. Love Bites was one of the first slow rock songs to use arena-level production without losing intimacy. It became an anthem for dangerous love and proved that Def Leppard could hit emotional nerves without losing their punch. If this song reminds you of someone with whom you had an intense story, tell us about it. Your story might just be made of the same fire this song carries. Mick Jones wrote this song during a lonely night in New York. He had just gone through a tough breakup, and the idea came to him almost like a prayer. Unlike his previous work, this time he leaned into a more spiritual, introspective approach and ended up composing what would become Foreigner's biggest hit. The single was part of the album Agent Provocateur and featured a collaboration with the New Jersey Mass Choir. That detail made all the difference. Their inclusion elevated the song to something almost religious. The contrast between Lou Graham's intimate voice and the grand gospel choir created a deep, lasting emotional impact. The song reached #1 in both the US and the UK and remains one of the most covered tracks in rock. It's been used in films, television shows, and still carries that immediate, soul-stirring effect on anyone who listens. A couple of years before their other big romantic hit, Foreigner had already touched listeners' hearts with this ballad. Featured on the album 4, it went through a long production process. It's said that the song's immersive atmosphere was thanks to Thomas Dolby's synthesizers. He would later become famous as a solo artist. The song stood out not just for its lyrics of longing, but for its sonic construction. It's soft, yet carries a constant emotional tension that builds all the way to the final verse. Lou Graham's restrained yet deeply moving vocal performance was the emotional anchor. Waiting for a Girl Like You spent 10 weeks at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, an unusual record. It never hit #1, but in many hearts, it remains unmatched.
Don't you get sad and lonely? Twisted selection.
This ballad was written by Andrew Ferris and Michael Hutchence, who wanted a track that would break away from the danceable style of their album Kick. The original idea was more classical, featuring string arrangements and a cinematic tone. Hutchence wrote the lyrics in just minutes, inspired by an intense relationship he was living through at the time. Musically, it blends synths, piano, and restrained guitar, leading to a memorable saxophone solo. Hutchence's vocal performance is one of the strongest of his career. Vulnerable, controlled, and powerful at once. The song became an instant hit across Europe, Oceania, and the Americas. Over time, it became one of the band's most iconic tracks. Its lyrics, about not being torn apart by outside forces, were seen by many as a declaration of eternal love, even beyond this life.
Although we both lie close together,
Bret Michaels wrote this song in a hotel room after calling his girlfriend and hearing a male voice on the other end. That night, while on tour, he picked up an acoustic guitar and poured all his heartbreak into what would become the band's biggest hit. The song appeared on Open Up and Say Ah and marked a turning point for Poison. Unlike the band's usual glam metal style, this song leaned toward a country feel with acoustic guitar and a simple yet effective structure. It was that raw honesty that made it stand out. The message is clear. Even the most beautiful things, like a rose, can hurt. It hit #1 on the Billboard charts and remains one of the clearest symbols of 80s rock ballads. Its black and white music video, featuring Michaels playing alone, helped reinforce the song's intimate, melancholic tone. Ever felt like a beautiful story ended up hurting you? Did this or another song help you get through it? Let us know in the comments. Klaus Meine and Rudolf Schenker wrote this song during a pivotal moment for the band. They wanted to explore a more melodic sound without losing their identity. They achieved that with this ballad, which blends soft passages with explosive guitars and a raw, emotional vocal. It was included on Love at First Sting. The lyrics are about trying to win back a lost love. There's no resentment, just a deep longing to make things right. That sincerity, paired with Mine's emotional delivery, struck a chord with diverse audiences around the world. In countries like France and Spain, the song became a phenomenon. Its emotional power was so strong, it was used for years as an unofficial anthem for goodbyes, reconciliations, and impossible love letters.
said, woman, take it slow. There was a time when I wasn't sure.
Released as a single from the album GNR Lies, this ballad marked a radical shift from the band's usual sound. No drums, just acoustic guitars and melancholic whistling. Patience showed a much more restrained Axl Rose, singing about love, waiting, and the fragility of connection. The song was written during a tense time for the band, as they struggled with the pressure following Appetite for Destruction. Axl had just gone through a breakup, and he poured that feeling into lyrics about learning to wait, to trust, and to heal over time. The video, shot in black and white in deserted parts of Los Angeles, captured that sense of loneliness and quiet tension. It was a hit on MTV and helped the band reach a broader audience beyond hard rock fans. Bryan Adams wrote this song while opening for Journey, and it was the melodic style of that band that inspired Heaven's tone. It originally appeared on the soundtrack for A Night in Heaven, but found its true place on the album Reckless. It's a classic ballad in structure, with a progression that slowly builds to an emotional climax. Adams' raspy voice gives it a warm and sincere tone, and the lyrics describe a love so perfect, it almost feels unreal. It reached #1 in the US and was a hit across Europe and Latin America. Beyond its commercial success, Heaven became a staple at weddings, dances, and farewells. Its emotional energy made it one of Bryan Adams' most beloved songs, and a symbol of youthful, all-consuming love. Joey Tempest wrote Carrie as a piano ballad in the band's early days. Producer Kevin Elson helped transform it into a melodic rock track that bridged the gap between the glam sound of the Final Countdown and a more emotional expression. It was recorded during the sessions for the Final Countdown and released as a single a year later. The song deals with the pain of a breakup, blending farewell and resignation in its lyrics. Tempest's vocal performance stands as one of the finest of his career, subtle in the verses and raw in the chorus. The track became an instant classic and received heavy rotation on radio stations and music channels. Unlike some of the band's other songs, Carrie managed to connect with a broader audience thanks to its emotional honesty. It reached #1 in several Latin American countries and remains a staple in any nostalgic 80s playlist.
Your eyes see the phone.
Recorded during the sessions for the Joshua Tree, this song was born out of a personal and professional crisis for Bono. He was torn between family life and the demands of the band, and that tension became the emotional core of the track. The production, led by Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois, was key in crafting the song's haunting and heart-wrenching atmosphere. Musically, the song is minimalist yet powerful. It features the infinite guitar, a technique that sustained notes to create an almost ethereal soundscape. Bono's voice shifts from a whisper to a restrained outburst as he repeats a line that grows more desperate with each verse. The result is a piece that communicates struggle, longing, and surrender. It became U2's first #1 hit in the United States and one of the best-selling singles of their career. The black and white music video, filled with introspective shots of the band, solidified their image as a deep, emotionally driven group. To this day, it stands as one of the most iconic alternative rock songs of the 1980s. Each of these songs had its moment, its story, its reason for being born. And yet today, they still do exactly what they did back then. Give us goosebumps, make us close our eyes, and think about everything that was, what could have been, or what we never had the courage to say. And that's not something just any song can do. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these ballads hit you the hardest? Which song took you back in time the second you heard it? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. We'll see you in the next video, where music is always eternal.